So it will bring about the change in our attitude, and also the behavior. Our perception tends to change. Perception about the world outside will continue to change. Perception changes means that attitude change. Attitude change means that whatever the impurity in the mind, it is because of my perception and also the thought process. So the both are constantly changing. You see that if we wear a pair of glasses with the lenses that are tinted red, everything we see through these glasses will appear red. Uh, the objects will not appear in true color. So, what happens, that is our topic today, that we perceive the world through our impure states of the mind. And that impure states of the mind results into defective perception. And that defective perception is delusion. That defective perception is the ignorance, and that causes lot of suffering. And we see the imperfection. Defective perception also means not only delusion, but it also means imperfections everywhere. I want to find the fault. Oh, you did not agree with me. Because I'm attached to my own way of thinking. And then I say, so I'm bringing today one verse from Yoga Vasishtha, one of the greatest texts, perhaps the first text, which contains perhaps more than 20,000 verses. It's a very lengthy, it is not like Patanjali Yoga Sutra. It is known as Yoga Vasishtha. The Vasishtha was a great sage master who has written this book, or you can say the way. In Gita, Krishna is the master and Arjuna is the seeker. So in Yoga Vasishtha, Ram is the seeker and Vasishtha is the master. And so Vasishtha did not talk about Hatha Yoga, Raj Yoga. He simply says the knowledge alone can get you out of this problem. Knowledge has to be realized by listening and learning. So there in that text, Sanskrit word is dosha drishti. Dosh means defect, drishti means perception. So it is not a short-sightedness or long-sightedness. The mind comes through the way the mind perceives the world, the way the mind looks at my life, the way the mind looks at my body, the way the mind looks at the entire transaction that we are doing in the world. In a just previous session, this Terry was saying that she has a very severe Parkinson. Oh, you might have heard sometime she shared her experiences when you were here. So you see that she was saying that everything is okay. She was not able to speak, but my body has lot of challenges. Now this is a defective vision. I have to see who does not have challenges with the body. Anyone, can you tell anyone in the world who does not have challenges with the body on a given day? Everyone has challenges. So after understanding that everyone has a challenges, what do you mean by the physical body? Physical body is constantly changing. Health and the sickness are the dynamic states. We go deeper. So this body is born because of the past karma. Why? Because of the past karma. Those karma needs to be exhausted in this body, in this life. So it will continue the same process? No, if you do the karma yoga, then you are not creating the future impressions, because those future impressions will go back again into the it becomes the vasana. It is like the same thing. We have a bank account and we spend some money in order to earn more. So that more money goes into the same account. The same way our karma and the impressions goes back into the same account. Whatever we earn. So that, the faulty perception or the defective perception, if I start realizing and recognizing that defective perception, we can recognize instantly the impurities of the mind. And once we get rid of these impurities of the mind by recognizing where I have this defective perception and where I have not, the mind will calm down completely. The mind will continue to live into that state of peace and calmness. Just by understanding, yes, by understanding, by knowledge, by contemplating, by reflecting. You wake up in the morning and your honey says, oh, let me buy a pair of jeans. Oh, you already have it. My impulsive reply. Wait, wait, wait. Recognize before you respond. Don't have that defective vision. Don't have that no, my old money is exhausted. Wait, wait, wait. Oh, that guy is crazy. Wait. Recognize, recognize, recognize how my mind has created a story so that my mind proves that that guy is crazy. It's a matter of awareness that I don't allow this mind to fall into the defective vision. The verse says the impurity of fault finding, which is hostile to all the beings, should be known. The verse, translation of the verse says, dos drashti malam geyam. I should recognize the impurity of defective perception or fault finding. Fault finding in computer, fault finding in anything and everything. 3 days ago, my computer hung. I bought one application to transfer one data from my one hard drive to the other hard drive. Computer hang down. I paid $40 for the application and it hung down. Only option is left to call the computer expert. Then I said no. So I had the laptop. I searched everything. Knowledge is required to get rid of the defective vision. So I looked into it and I started working on myself. It took me 2 days and I saved almost $300 to $400. When I called some guy who told me that $125 per hour, and I was working for 2 days, it means if he has worked even for 5 or 6 hours. So yesterday night, yesterday night, day before yesterday night, I retrieved everything. And now I removed that software application. I said I'm not going to install in this computer. Finished. So impurity of fault finding which is hostile to everything should be known, should be recognized. That is the first line. And through the eyes of fault finding, everything appears tainted, like the red color glasses I wear, so I see everything is red. With the tainted glasses, or with the tainted mind, with the impurity of the mind, I continue to live my life, and I have ignorance, I have delusion, I have suffering, I have problems, I have challenges. I have to get rid of this. First I have to recognize, and then I have to get rid of dosha drishti. I'm laying a very strong foundation for the 40 steps. We have yet to start. The impurity of the fault finding, which is hostile to everyone, should be known. What exactly further, what should be the explanation of it? That any thought, feeling, and emotion enters into my mind, I should maintain an awareness. When I see others as competitors and I judge them based on their financial status or material possessions, my mind has a faulty perception, and that faulty perception results into the impure state of the mind that is known as the money mind. Otherwise, what I have, no, let me continue to work. Who cares? Working without faulty perception is one thing, and working with a faulty perception is another thing. I am attached. I have a comparison. I have a duality. I have a delusion. Attachment to the wealth and the status comes into my head when I see others are competitors. Be careful. You have your own profession, and there are competitors. You focus on yourself. You give something new, some more quality. So instead, you find them as a competitor, you find them they are helping you to develop something new. Get all the information, whatever the information you get. Otherwise, that is one way to approach it. First, I have to recognize. Then I have to recognize in the mind the sense of contentment. Sense of contentment and sense of generosity, sense of givingness. Why? Because I have to purify the mind, I have to remove this faulty perception, and then I have to awaken myself. I criticize people because they do not conform to my belief. I have an aversion against my relations who do not conform to my belief in the norm. Take it easy. Take life easy. It is their perception. It is my perception. Let me check whether I have a faulty perception, what I have to do with others. You consciously think in this way. You are purifying the mind. What I have to do with it. So I have to develop an independent thinking. That is why we have a master and seeker tradition. You are constantly listening and learning, contemplating and reflecting. Ultimately, your mind starts independent thinking. Independent of attachment, independent of independent of craving, independent of craziness. You build a self-confidence and you respect for the other's perception. Let them have their perception. You check your perception if somebody has a different perception. And if you see your perception is faulty perception, you change it. Another problem that comes, our master explains beautifully, if my mind on a given day is constantly distracted, it has become a wandering mind. That wandering mind is always finding the fault with others. So I have to get rid of this wandering mind. Because wandering mind means mind goes to one thought, to one person, to the second person, and then it picks up the impression it has already deposited. It triggers from the mind, from the vasana. I explained you the first step is the vasana. Then it becomes the sankalpa and the vikalpa. And that sankalpa vikalpa is constantly chattering of the mind, and that is going to create a lot of problem. Your mind will not remain free. So I have to understand that where the mind has gone today, how many thoughts it has about the people, situation, and event. Oh, let me think. And then you recognize the faulty perception. This wandering mind leads to impulsive reaction. Impulsive reaction. You already went with me, to find out. He said $800 per month. So why should I get agitated? It's okay. But I gave him the figure, that Kirk. Kirk. I sent him the email again. I am ready to take 550. He did not respond. Don't respond. Don't respond. So very clarity. So I got little 50 and another $1,500 less. And I wanted to pay him $3,000, and here I paid only $1,000. What I want to say that when there is a clarity of perception in doing anything, you live in the world with clarity of perception. These principles will help you to excel in your personal, professional, and social life. Because there is a purity of the mind. You take everything casually. Okay, that's okay. What you said is okay. What I'm saying, if you agree, it's okay. If you don't agree, that too is okay. Why I'm saying so? Because in our personal, professional, and social and family life also, we have a lot of challenges in our mind at the emotional level. We have to get rid of it. Why we have to get rid of it? We strike a harmony with the world outside. Why we have to strike the harmony with the world? I have long time for meditation. Mind is always relaxed and calm. So whenever I sit in meditation, I am absorbed into meditation. I'm living a worldly life. I have to strike a harmony. I'm not living in the Himalayas, where I hardly interact with the teacher or a couple of the students. That's no. I have to interact with everyone every day. So I have to strike a harmony. Harmony means again the purity of the mind. I have to reach to that. Now see, I blame and complain others to avoid taking responsibility of my weaknesses and shortcomings. One is to just blame and complain. That is one way to say. To force my ego that I am right and you are wrong. So that belongs to the belief, blind belief. You can say the sheep mind. But here, I rationalize. I want to prove by criticizing others so that I can avoid responsibility. Vegetable you cooked is not good. So let me cook the vegetable myself first. Otherwise, I don't have a right to blame. Never, never blame. Well, just for example, never blame. But in the professional life, you remind your employees, yes, you are working, we both are working together for this company, and your goal is this. Did you achieve this goal? Or do you have many excuses? So, can you get rid of those excuses, take over the responsibility, correct these mistakes? So, you have a clarity in your head. Clarity in that clarity is required. That clarity is that purity of the mind. So, what I'm saying that blame and when we criticize others to avoid taking responsibility for my own shortcoming. I don't know the computer, and then I can take my responsibility. I can blame that guy, you gave me the software and it's not working. Now I have to see that. So this is known as the rationalization without cause and reason. So I have to be very much aware in order to strike the harmony. I have to get rid of this defective perception. Everything is all about perception, how the mind perceives the thing in the world outside. Nothing, my friend. So when we have a right perception, mind is pure. You have a faulty perception. Mind is in anxiety, in duality, in a conflict. You have lot of challenges. And every day we will find lot of challenges. And I can bet you, you can meet all the challenges with a calmness and peace of mind. Any challenges. When you get rid of this defective perception. Dosha drishti. So I have to recognize that those drishti. I am wearing the red colored glasses and I forget that I have the red colored glasses, but I see that you look so red. So that forgetfulness should not be there. That causes the delusion in our personal, professional, social life. Look at, I judge and stereotypes other based on my preconceived notion and biases. Our wives are always like this. Husbands are always like this. Employees are always like this. Maybe one employee is very capable, but he has committed mistake. All the employees are like this. I have to judge, I have to understand, I have to recognize. So when I judge and I go stereotypes based on my preconceived opinion and notion, this is known as biased mind. I have to get rid of this biased mind in order to purify the mind. So I need not to do lot of breathing just by perception, just by understanding, constantly thinking about it. Where is the bias? Why I have some sense of anxiety with that perception? Why I have a reaction? Why I'm worried about this? No, be clear. Be very clear. Be very clear. So my limited perception and resistance to the new ideas lead to a narrow and fault-finding mindset. I have to get rid of it. So not only it helps in your professional life, but it is going to help a great deal with our spiritual life. So instead of sympathy, when I see that I have judged this person, instead of sympathy, I move with empathy. Empathy, to let me understand it. So I can get rid of cognitive, biased mind. I'm picking up each and every. So the more every time you listen and you last every day in the evening, just spend 15 minutes and find out, oh, I was little bit upset, or mind would remain calm throughout the day. I was so busy, engaged, and talked to so many people, did all my work and activities. how the calmness remained. I told you before also, before the action, during the action, and after the action, the calmness is there, peace is there, the joy is there. Mind is pure. But it doesn't mean that you do not practice internally. You have to do the practice all the time. In a slight disturbances in the mind, you don't want to tolerate it. You recognize it. And that principle comes, let me recognize the faulty perception in this conversation, in this action, in this activity. Life is going to transform. Dosha drishti, faulty, defective perception or a faulty perception. I always have a faulty perception because of ignorance, because of delusion, because of wrong notion, because of attachment, because of detachment. I like you, hence you are a good person. I dislike you, that's why you are not a good person. So I have to remove this like and dislike from the mind. So we have a strong likes and dislikes mind. I can tell you those people who have a very strong likes and dislikes mind, they normally fail in their life, in their material life, in their personal life, in their professional life. One guy where I volunteered the session, so he sent an email that now, we are divorced and I have a daughter 10 years old and my wife does not want me to meet my daughter. They divorced recently. I said, pay more attention to your mind. Don't allow the mind to react, to force, to go for any legal remedy. And then I further wrote that, can you tell me how many hours you used to spend with your daughter before the divorce? 1. How many thoughts about the daughter you have had every day before the divorce? How many times you help your daughter to eat her food through your hands because you tell me that you love your daughter too much? So can you tell me the activities pertaining that proves that you love your daughter too much? He wrote me back, it is all because of my ego. My ego hurts. I said, get rid of this ego. Don't even talk to your ex-wife that you are interested in meeting, but you send the message to your daughter who you told me that she has a phone, that I love you and I care. You simply send this message every day and forget about it and you start working. I have to get rid of the strong likes and dislikes that causes the ego. And now it has been 3 months. He did not write to me. So he is doing good. So I have to recognize my faulty vision. In every situation, I have to recognize that this is the impure states of the mind and how to remove that faulty perception. No, I get upset, emotionally upset, and then I blame you. I get emotional, too much emotional about you, then I say I love you 200%. This is what the mood swing mind is. This is what the mood swing mind is. I have to get rid of it. Well, maintain that calmness. You are able to maintain that calmness, but it's better to understand the deeper layers of the conflict and the defective perception we have in our mind. So what happens in mood swing? I'm attached, but I'm over-attached. I'm detached, but I'm over-detached. That is what the mood swing is. So when I'm over-attached or over-detached, it results into reactive and judgmental attitude. I have to get rid of it. It hurts my ego. Let it hurt my ego. I'm evolving. My goal is to awakening. My goal is to realize the real self. I should have an emotional awareness. I should not have an emotional dependence. I have to regulate my mind. I have to discipline my mind. I have to maintain a balanced perspective instead of a defective perception. We are talking about dosha drishti, and dosha drishti, defective perception, lives in the mind. That mind which has the impurity in the mind, and that impurity is in the mind in the form of a desire or delusion. And that comes from my constant thinking, sankalpa and the vikalpa, and that comes from my past impressions. So I want to get rid of these impressions. I'm emptying that vasana by applying these tools, by understanding the defective perception. Think of this. You maintain the state of the calmness by recognizing the defective perception, and you take the right attitude. So you are not creating more karmas for the future. That will go back into the same account. We just start judging others as inferior. Maybe because of many reasons. No, we should not do it. The moment we start in having that perception that others are inferior, it is also a defective perception caused by the ego. So I should recognize, hey, he's very inferior to me, he's very superior to me. No, no. So what happens? Your mind starts moving into the humility, empathy. My mind might have started thinking this computer is the worst. Why should I have taken this computer? So there is a kind of an obsession. I started thinking rightly, oh, let me do what I can do. I got the knowledge and I started working. I never worked with, what is that known as? Command prompt. But you get the knowledge, you can work on. Command prompt, you know in the computer? Ah. So you write CMD and there is a black screen comes and then you write some language to correct your computer.
Yeah, I also use it.
Yeah, that is
command line.
Yeah, command prompt. So I opened the command prompt and I corrected it. Oh, I said, oh, this is how it works. Okay, I got it. So I should not be obsessed with anything in the world. Intense attachment, intense ideas, strong ideas about a situation. People, no, I cannot work. I cannot correct my computer. Why I cannot correct my computer? Let me have the knowledge and correct it. Craving mind. So craving mind means that there is a lack of satisfaction. There is something burning in my mind. I have yet to satisfy myself. I have not, you see that if you are eating bread every day and couple of days you don't eat bread, so there is a craving for the bread. Same thing apply. Oh, he didn't talk to me today. So something happens into my mind and I call that guy and I spend 1 hour in gossip. You don't do it, but I'm just talking about the different impure states. So no, there is no need. There is no need. I have to get rid of it. This woman, she always used to talk to her friend, and for 2 hours, and she told me after a week that every time I end up talking and I enter into anxiety and a reaction because I don't agree with my friend on certain things, which she always press me, and that is how I enter into anxiety. I said, why you are talking? Who prompts you to talk? That is also a craving mind. Relationship mind. You can use the word relationship mind. Relationship with the same thing we blame and complain. I have already explained to you. Then the fear mind. I have to instantly recognize is it a fear of known or is it a fear of unknown? When it is already unknown, why should I have a fear? And if there is a fear of known, let me address it. Let me address it. Why should I have a fear of unknown? My tiger will enter into my room. Why should I think like this? So people who think about this, they have a chronic anxiety. That is what the chronic anxiety is, chronic depression is. Fear. Fear mind is one aspect of it. Sad mind. I have to ask, what are the three benefits of being sad? I have to look into it. That is also a defective perception about my mind. Sad mind also comes when I think too much about my shortcomings. A pessimism comes. Recognize that faulty perception and you have to get rid of it. What is the goal is that my mind remains calm, full of joy and peace the moment I wake up in the morning until I retire to the bed. My mind says no issue, calmness is prevailed. Can you imagine that you can sit in meditation for hours together? You can be in the state of meditation for hours together, even while working in your daily life. Just think, just imagine what state it would be that today is calm, that throughout the week there is a calmness. I can find out there was a very small trigger based on the past impression last week. Otherwise, every week, the whole week passed so without any disturbances in the mind, without getting upset. Without even in upset, we blame and complain. Depressed mind, same thing. Depressed mind is that I find the faults and shortcomings in myself. I reinforce my negative belief. I'm like this. I cannot do this. Distorted thinking. Defective perception. Defective perception, I have to get rid of it. This is one of the easiest, strongest, and the most powerful way. That is why I picked up this dosha drashti. Anxious mind is the same I have already discussed. The impurity of fault finding. I am repeating the verse again. The impurity of the fault finding, which is hostile to all the beings on this universe, should be known. I should recognize it. Where I should recognize in my mind. What is that recognition? That is a cognitive ability. That cognitive ability, once I recognize, I can remove that fault in my mind to have a right perception, to have the state of calmness and peace. It's very important. Yoga Vasishtha emphasizes the negative impact of constantly living in fault perception. So when I engage in fault fighting, I have created the world of my own, which is different from the world outside. One is the world with a colored perception and the one world outside. Just think, I'm telling you simple thing. That is how the thought, these thought which contains the knowledge helps you. Say example, I hate you, for example. So if I hate you, does the air blocks you not to breathe? Does the water does not help you? Existence is the same for you and me. So why I have a hatred? I bring my mind to the defective perception and I say, hold on, what are you doing? He is also part of the existence. I'm also part of the existence. The same five elements, the same sun, same moon idea. We have to loosen this colored perception all the time. So see, if you analyze this verse, you have first question comes, what is the impurity mentioned in the verse? Faulty perception, defective perception. How does the fault finding affect our relationship with the world? What happens to our perception when we view the world through defective perception? So I have already explained these. I have to get rid of this habit of fault finding, as it creates a sense of hostility. So this verse is hostility means the reaction, anger, delusion, hesitation. All these expressions comes. And when these expressions are there with me, I live into impure states of the mind. So defective perception, it puts you into delusion, it takes you away from discernment and dispassion, takes you away from. So again another question comes here. Self-inquiry is not possible without discernment, without viveka and vairagya. What about the discovery done by the scientists? It is a simple inquiry. They don't need any viveka and vairagya. They need a protocol. They need the intellectual understanding of these variable, not this variable, and then they conduct. But why? Why they don't need that level of this viveka which we do it? There is another way to understand this defective perception. That's where I'm taking you to. I was giving an example the other day that Newton saw the apple fell on the ground. Did he have any confusion why the apple also rise above the ground? He did not have any confusion. He had only one question: why apple fell on the ground? Scientific research doesn't need that level of viveka. What about us? Self-inquiry. I already have a mistaken notion about myself that I'm the body, I'm the mind, I'm the husband, I'm the wife, I'm the son, I'm the daughter, I'm rich and I'm poor. I is related to hundreds of identification. And I want to know the real self. The real self is independent of all these. So it is the viveka that helps me to separate my defective perception about my wrong notion, false identification. I have to separate it in my mind. That is why self-inquiry has to go with Viveka and Vairagya. Viveka and Vairagya, Viveka and Vairagya, you don't need to change anything outside. You have to change inside. Once I change myself inside, outside, now I have a right perception, so I can take a right action. Dosha drishti, defective vision, defective perception results into delusion. So when we engage in defective perception, I create the world of my own and I live into this world. You did not say hello, you did not do the namaste to me, so it means you are not a good student. So I cook the story on my own. So there are millions of the things I have to work throughout the day. Am I calm? There's another way. Am I calm and relaxed? Yes, I'm calm. No, I'm not calm and relaxed. Let me find out what I have perceived. Where is the fault? Otherwise, this defective perception distort my reality. It negatively impacts my personal, my professional, social life. I should be aware of the danger of false perception. So simple to remember. I told you, from the moment you wake up in the morning until you sleep in the night, before sleeping, 10-15 minutes, look at all the activities and find out, are you able to maintain that calmness before, during, and after the action? That was a success in your life. That is a successful day. Otherwise, even if you have a $1 million with lot of defective perception, with lot of anxiety and reaction, it means nothing. Pragmatic approach. This is the pragmatic approach. I must first become aware. Aware of the world outside, aware of the relationship, aware of the objects, aware of the things, aware of. Recognition, aware of. And then I have to see how the mind, impure states of the mind causing this problem. And then I have to find a solution by consciously thinking. So we have to first understand what the defective perception is. Recognize in thought, recognize in thought, in speech, in action, in your personal, professional, and social life, family life. And then then find out what is the root of this defective perception coming from my mind. Stressed mind, monkey mind, likes and dislikes mind. So you have a reference point, very clear map. You have a clear map and then ask what I have to do. What benefit I will get to continue with the defective perception. Get that. Is this defective perception creating a vicious cycle? Answer is yes. I have to replace it by conscious thinking. Let the world remain for the world's sake. There are other practices which we have covered many months ago. Sama, Dhamma, Uparati, Titiksha. In one situation, you only need to withdraw the mind inside and be calm. In other situation, you have to withdraw the sense organ from that situation and remove the defective vision. In the third situation, you saw it, you recognize it, it is dissolved, that is Uparati. You see now, I will go back and connecting to these fourfold practices. Now, in still other situation, You need to endure because of the outer situation. Say your honey said you something, and then you recognize it is her habit of saying this. I should not get upset. Tapa. That is tapa. And one day you have a very high fever. No, no chance. You have to endure it. So when you endure what it comes from the nature, it is known as titiksha. And tapa is that you endure. Oh, today I see that this situation has entered into my life. So that is also known as tapa in the sense that you don't take food, you do lot of pranayama, you continue to sit in Padmasana. Let me sit in Padmasana for 1 hour, see whether it is possible or not. I used to practice Padmasana and I said, let us sit for 15 minutes. And then I forgot it. And what happened that after a few weeks, that 15 minutes became half an hour on its own without any reaction. Oh, I'm sitting here. Let me sit for 45 minutes. So now on a given day when I'm doing the practice, sometime it happens for 1.5 hours, sometime you are constantly keep sitting for 2 hours. You don't feel anything. So this is how you get rid of the defects of the mind in relationship to the body. Let us ask ourselves couple of questions so that the things about the defective vision becomes clear. First, what are the consequences of defective perception? Obviously, all the impure states of the mind will come. That distorts our perception, negatively impacts my life. I cannot live into the state of the calmness and relaxation in all my activities throughout the day. How to overcome the habit of defective perception? I've already underlined the steps, recognition. Why it is important to address this defective perception? Impurity of the mind. I have to purify the mind, not only for the sake of my personal, professional, and social life, but also for the sake of my spiritual life. How do I recognize the defective perception? Let me pay attention to my thought. Thought pertaining to the word, thought pertaining to a person, thought pertaining to a situation and event. Now let me know what's happening. Mind, why you are thinking like this about this event? Why you are upset? Because I cannot get upset without a thought. First there is a thought associated with an emotion and then only I recognize it. There is no other way. I must have a thought. Oh, pay attention to my thought and the words. If I find frequently those thoughts are being repeated, obviously there is some problem. And then I recognize whether it's a reactive, whether it's a recognition, and I get rid of. What can I do to shift my perspective when I catch myself in defective perception? So first, I pay attention, means I recognize it, I understand it, then I ask myself which impure state of mind it is, and then I take a corrective action. By how? By thinking. By thinking. Internally. And obviously, because we are already doing meditation, it is also definitely going to help. So I do not remain as a consumer of the word, I become a contributor. That is another way to do it. I improve my relationship, I reduce my stress and anxiety, I reduce my fatigue and you can say the tiredness. So this defective perception creates a separation and negativity. It creates a separation in the sense that it builds my strong ego. As long as that ego is there, I cannot enter into the higher state of the consciousness. I believe I covered that. In Yoga Sutra, there is another that I should cultivate attitude of friendliness towards people who are happy, compassion for the people who are unhappy, delight in the people who are good nature, and disregard towards the wicked people. So there are four aspects we can cultivate that also removes the defective perception. Recognize the presence of defective perception in the mind. Understand that defective perception is an impurity that has distorted my perception. Acknowledge the defective perception is hostile to all the beings. I'm just translating the verse in a different way, converting into the steps. Observe how fault finding taints my experience of reality. Realize that the world appears tainted or imperfect due to my own perception. Make a conscious effort by thinking to change this, develop a deeper understanding of these defects. Continue to work throughout the day and night, and and you will see that it is 100% possible.